What if I told you that when a loved one who has passed away shows up in your dreams 3 separate times, it isn't just your imagination, it's a deliberate spiritual contact. And according to Edgar Cayce's psychic readings, this kind of repeated visitation is never random, it's a direct signal that demands your immediate attention. Cayce, often called the sleeping prophet, left behind more than 14,000 documented trance readings. And hidden inside some of his most unusual cases are specific instructions, clear guidance on what you must do when someone from the other side reaches out to you through your dreams. Even right now, as you're listening to this, someone who has crossed over might be trying to find a way to reach you. The real question is, would you even recognize their message if it came? By the time this narration ends, you will know exactly what Cayce uncovered about these otherworldly dream encounters, and the 3 essential steps he said every person must take when these visitations happen. But before we get there, let me ask you something that might send a chill down your spine. Have you ever dreamed of someone who has died, and the dream felt so real, so emotionally alive, that you woke up wondering if they were truly trying to tell you something? Share it if you want, because what I'm about to reveal from Cayce's transcripts might explain that exact experience. In one of his readings, number 5756-4, Cayce met a woman who came to him desperate and confused. Her husband, who had passed away, kept appearing in her dreams. Not once. Not twice. But 3 times in a row. And each dream felt more intense, more urgent, as if he was trying desperately to get a message through. What Cayce revealed in that reading shocked even his stenographer, Gladys Davis, who had recorded thousands of sessions by that point. He explained that when the departed visit you 3 times in dreams, it's what he called a soul emergency, an urgent spiritual alert from beyond the physical world. A signal that cannot, and should not, be ignored. But this is where things take a fascinating turn, because Cayce made something very clear. Souls who have crossed over don't just show up in dreams randomly. According to reading 3744-4, the spirit world operates under specific laws, and repeated dream visits follow a divine pattern. When someone appears 3 times, they're following what Cayce described as the law of spiritual persistence. It means they have a message so important, so heavy with meaning, that they must deliver it before they can move on to higher realms. But that's not all. In his years of study at what is now the Edgar Cayce Foundation in Virginia Beach, he collected countless cases showing that these dream visitors weren't just saying their goodbyes. They were offering warnings. Revealing information the living needed. Even guiding people through major life choices. For example, in reading 987-2, a mother appeared 3 times to her son, pointing again and again to a very specific spot in their old home. When he finally checked it, he found legal papers she had hidden away, documents that saved the family from serious financial trouble. Which raises an important question, one I'll answer in just a few minutes. But first, you need to understand something almost everyone misunderstands about dreams involving the dead. What Cayce revealed in that reading shocked even his stenographer, Gladys Davis, who had recorded thousands of sessions by that point. He explained that when the departed visit you 3 times in dreams, it's what he called a soul emergency, an urgent spiritual alert from beyond the physical world. A signal that cannot, and should not, be ignored. But this is where things take a fascinating turn, because Cayce made something very clear. Souls who have crossed over don't just show up in dreams randomly. According to reading 3744-4, the spirit world operates under specific laws, and repeated dream visits follow a divine pattern. When someone appears 3 times, they're following what Cayce described as the law of spiritual persistence. It means they have a message so important, so heavy with meaning, that they must deliver it before they can move on to higher realms. But that's not all. In his years of study at what is now the Edgar Cayce Foundation in Virginia Beach, he collected countless cases showing that these dream visitors weren't just saying their goodbyes. They were offering warnings, revealing information the living needed, even guiding people through major life choices. For example, in reading 987-2, a mother appeared 3 times to her son, pointing again and again to a very specific spot in their old home. When he finally checked it, he found legal papers she had hidden away, documents that saved the family from serious financial trouble. Which raises an important question, one I'll answer in just a few minutes. But first, you need to understand something almost everyone misunderstands about dreams involving the dead. According to reading 57:56-12, our consciousness during sleep becomes a bridge between the physical and spiritual dimensions. Cayce said that when we dream, we enter a realm he called the borderland, a threshold where souls can communicate with us far more easily than when we're awake. But here's the part that truly separates Cayce's teachings from everything else you've heard. Not every dream about a dead loved one is a real visitation. In reading 136-18, he explained that many dreams are simply your mind processing grief, memories, and emotions. The difference, the thing that reveals a true spiritual encounter, is the combination of repetition and specificity. If someone who has passed appears 3 times, delivering the same message or pointing to the same thing, Cayce said that is no longer a dream. That is direct soul-to-soul contact. And ignoring it, according to his transcripts, can have consequences for both the living person and the spirit trying to reach them. One of the most documented examples comes from the archives of the Association for Research and Enlightenment. A man named Robert kept dreaming of his deceased father. 3 nights in a row, his father appeared troubled, pointing insistently at a particular tree on their old family property in Kentucky. Robert dismissed the first 2 dreams as grief. But after the third one, he remembered Cayce's teachings about the meaning of the 3-time visitation. So he traveled to the property and examined the tree. Buried beneath its roots, he found a metal box. Inside that box was evidence connected to a crime his father had witnessed years before, evidence that finally helped investigators close a cold case and allowed his father's soul to find peace. But this case also revealed something deeper about how communication between the living and the dead really works. In reading 281-6, Cayce explained that when a soul dies, it doesn't immediately ascend to a higher level. Often, it remains in what he called the earthbound dimension, completing unfinished business or delivering necessary messages. These souls can only communicate under certain conditions, most often when we sleep and our conscious mind becomes quiet. But Cayce also discovered that breaking through from the other side requires tremendous spiritual energy. That's why these visitations only happen when something genuinely matters. The pattern of 3 isn't symbolic, it's a spiritual law. In reading 262-8, Cayce said that 3 represents completion. 1 dream can be dismissed as imagination. 2 can be coincidence. But 3 means the message has fully formed and must be acknowledged. And that's when Cayce gives practical, actionable steps, specific instructions for what to do next. In reading 57-56-14, he described 3 obligations, not suggestions, that must be fulfilled when a deceased loved one visits you in dreams 3 times. The first step is conscious acknowledgement. This means that the moment you awaken from that 3rd dream, you must speak out loud, directly addressing the departed soul, saying something like, "I recognize your visit, and I am ready to receive your message." Cayce explained that this verbal acknowledgement creates what he called a spiritual bridge, a stronger channel between the 2 dimensions. And he warned of something surprising. In reading 3744-5, he documented cases where souls became stuck in the earthbound dimension when their messages were ignored. Some remain trapped for years, unable to progress. Your acknowledgement helps free them. The second step is meditative receptivity. Within 24 hours of the third dream, you must sit quietly, close your eyes, and deliberately invite the spirit to clarify their message. Not through imagination, but through impressions, images, or intuitive knowing. In reading 262-15, Cayce said this meditative openness activates what he called soul channels, direct pathways that bypass dream symbolism altogether. People who followed this step often received extremely clear insights, guidance about family secrets, major decisions, or future dangers. But it's the third step that truly separates those who understand spiritual law from those who don't. Step 3 is physical action. In reading 5756-8, Cayce emphasized that once a message is received, through dreams, impressions, or intuition, you must act on it. Spiritual communication without physical action creates what he described as energetic interference, a kind of static that blocks future guidance. So if a loved one shows you a location, you must go there. If they warn you about a person, you must take precautions. If they reveal information, you must handle it responsibly. There are hundreds of documented cases in the ARE archives where people who followed these steps experienced remarkable outcomes. And just as many were those who ignored the message faced repeated setbacks until they finally acted. One case illustrates this perfectly. Sarah, a nurse from Virginia, began dreaming about her deceased grandmother exactly 1 year after she passed. 3 dreams. Each one in their old family kitchen. Each time, her grandmother frantically opened the same drawer. Following Cayce's instructions, Sarah acknowledged the dream aloud. Then she entered meditation, where she suddenly felt compelled to check that specific drawer in the now empty house. Inside, she found a hidden compartment containing her grandmother's immigration documents and a significant amount of cash the family never knew about. More importantly, the papers revealed medical history that helped doctors finally diagnose a condition that had affected their family for years. And soon after Sarah acted on the message, the dream stopped. Not in a frightening way, but peacefully. Her grandmother appeared calm, radiant, and finally at rest. According to reading 136-22, this shift means the soul successfully delivered its message and moved forward spiritually. But Cayce also described what happens when people ignore these dream visitations. And the consequences are unsettling. In reading 57-56-19, he explained that when a spirit's message goes unheard, the soul becomes increasingly distressed. This agitation can spill into the physical world, strange sounds, electrical flickers, the sense that someone is watching. But even more concerning is what happens to the living person. In reading 262, Cayce warned that rejecting genuine spiritual communication creates what he called soul resistance, a kind of hardening of your inner senses that blocks intuitive guidance, not just from loved ones, but from all spiritual sources. Ignoring these dreams can close doors you didn't even know existed. But Cayce made another discovery, one many people overlook. In reading 281-12, he said that 3-time dream visitors aren't just delivering messages, they're serving as spiritual teachers. Each visitation increases your soul sensitivity, gradually expanding your awareness of higher realms. In other words, these dreams aren't just for the dead. They're opportunities for your own spiritual growth. He also explained, in reading 3744-2, why some people experience these visitations while others don't. It's not random. According to Cayce, these dreams come to those who are spiritually ready to act as bridges between worlds, people whose souls are developed enough to handle direct communication from beyond. And if you're receiving these dreams, it means you're more spiritually open than you realize. The records from the Cayce Foundation show that many individuals who responded properly to dream visitations went on to develop strong intuitive or psychic abilities. Some became healers, mediums, or spiritual guides. But Cayce also warned, in reading 5756-6, that these abilities must be used with integrity. If someone tries to exploit their sensitivity for personal gain, their intuition fades, and they may attract negative energies. He emphasized again and again that spiritual communication must be approached with humility and a sincere desire to help, not control. Now, some people might be wondering, what if I already had these dreams, but I didn't know what to do at the time? Am I too late? According to reading 136-28, the answer is no. It's never too late. Souls in the spiritual realm don't experience time the way we do. Your acknowledgement, even years later, can still reach them. Cayce recommended entering meditation, apologizing sincerely for missing their earlier attempts, and opening yourself fully to receive what they were trying to share. And according to many documented reports, loved ones often return within days, but in a calmer, more peaceful form. This speaks to something profound about the nature of love and connection beyond physical death. Throughout all his readings, Cayce emphasized one unwavering truth. Death does not end relationships. It changes their form. The love of those who have passed continues, active, aware, and connected. When they visit you 3 times in dreams, they're not trying to frighten you. They're showing you that love doesn't end with the body. They're guiding you, protecting you, and continuing a bond that never breaks. Responding properly to them honors that eternal connection. In reading 281-16, Cayce offered one of his most comforting insights: every soul that has ever loved you still watches over you. They are closer than you think. And sometimes, when life begins to shift or danger approaches, they step forward, through dreams, to help you. As you move forward, remember this: the teachings Cayce left behind are not just mystical ideas. They are practical tools, ways to understand the messages that come from beyond, and ways to help both yourself and those who have passed. If you've had 3 dreams of someone who died, now you know exactly what it means, and what to do. If you haven't experienced it yet, stay open. According to Cayce, as humanity becomes more spiritually aware, communication between dimensions will only increase. And those who understand these principles now, those who listen, acknowledge, and act, will become the bridges between worlds. Remember this: every soul who ever loved you still loves you. And when they reach out through dreams, it's one of the greatest gifts they can offer: guidance, protection, and a reminder that the veil between life and death is much thinner than it seems.